Let's talk about Mark chapter 15, the crucifixion. Stuff that you didn't know was in this passage that you don't see on your initial read because we need some cultural context. This is the chapter that my discussion group is talking about at the brewery this week. So if you want to talk about it together in person, show up at Poorhouse in downtown Wichita, 7 p.m. We meet upstairs, grab a beer, and talk. Otherwise, I put the discussion questions that we're going through online at breweryministries.org. You can print this off and follow along, talk about it with your friends. But what's the weird stuff in this chapter that you don't normally maybe see? Well, there's this line that Jesus says when he's about to die. He's on the cross and he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And the contemporary English version says, "Why have you deserted me?" So this is confusing. I mean, I've heard a lot of people ask questions about this. I always wondered, well, wait, did Jesus doubt? Like, did he doubt God before he died? Did he really feel like God abandoned him? Did he not know what was going on? I mean, it's really confusing. I've heard it taught that way. Well, I did some digging. I like to do research and figure out the context. And this actually is Jesus quoting one of the Psalms. It is Psalm 22, and he's praying it as he's dying. And Psalm 22 was called the Psalm of the Righteous Sufferer, and it starts off this person suffering, and they're talking about how they feel like God has abandoned him, but then they go through this progression where they're like, oh, God, you didn't abandon me. You were there the whole time, and you defended me, and all this stuff. So that's actually what Jesus is quoting, which changes, I think, what that means. So we could talk about that. I mean, does that change? My God, how have you forsaken me? What that means? Did he start praying this and he was going to get to, you were with me the whole time, God, but then he died in the middle of that prayer? I don't know. There's a lot of interesting stuff to think about there. There's also in verse Mark 15:33, it says, about noon the sky turned dark and stayed that way until about 3 o'clock. So that doesn't sound that unusual. I mean, maybe it just got really cloudy out, right? Well, if you look at other weather records from the ancient Near East of that time, even from other countries around there, they documented that it actually got pitch black like night. Or like I think it's Thales. I put it on the sheet. So if you look up the guide, you can figure it out. Thales or someone recorded that there was a solar eclipse. However, a solar eclipse doesn't really last 3 hours as far as I know. So that's very curious. I think it's interesting to talk about what that phenomenon might have been. And if you go and look at some of the other gospels, when Jesus died, the whole earth shook. So there you've got an earthquake, which was recorded in other ancient documents too, and a 3-hour solar eclipse occurring at the same time. All of that makes a big difference when you read this chapter. So if you go read Mark chapter 15, specifically verses 20 through 41, I hope you'll see some new stuff now. And yeah, let me know what you see in the comments or send me a message. And if you would like to use our discussion guide here with the context and the questions, go to breweryministries.org. Sit down with a friend, grab a beer, grab coffee, grab a meal. I don't know. Take it to your church, use a small group. Whatever, get creative with this stuff. And I hope you have some good discussions. We'll talk to you soon.